Maya Chen was wiping down the espresso machine when the morning light changed. It wasn't gradual, like clouds passing over the sun. One moment, sunshine poured through the windows of her small cafe in Singapore's Chinatown district. The next, shadows swallowed everything. She looked up through the glass storefront and her breath caught. Shapes hung in the sky, massive and dark, blocking out the heavens. Her hands went numb. The cloth she'd been holding dropped to the floor. "Maya, are you seeing this?" Her assistant Lena stood frozen by the pastry case, phone clutched in her trembling hand. Before Maya could answer, every screen in the cafe flickered to life. The television mounted in the corner, the tablets at each table, even the digital menu board behind the counter. All showed the same image. A creature filled the screens. Tall, impossibly thin, with skin like ash. Its eyes were voids, empty of anything Maya recognized as life or warmth. "I am High Commander Vex," the thing said, its voice like grinding metal. "Your world now belongs to the Kashari Empire. You have 48 hours to surrender all weapons, all resources, all resistance. Comply, or watch your cities burn." The broadcast showed other planets, beautiful worlds reduced to burning husks. Bodies in the streets. Children crying. Species Maya had never seen kneeling before Kashari soldiers. Lena started crying. Maya wanted to cry too, but her body wouldn't respond. She just stood there, watching humanity's death sentence play out on a dozen screens. The bell above the cafe door chimed. David Okonkwo stumbled in, his usually neat suit jacket askew, his eyes wide with the same terror Maya felt in her chest. "They're everywhere," David said, his British accent thick with stress. "Every city. They're saying millions of ships." Maya had known David for 6 months. He came in every morning at 7:30 for an Americano and a croissant. He was in Singapore designing a new waterfront complex. They'd shared countless conversations about architecture, food, the small beautiful things that made life worth living. Now they stared at each other across her cafe while the world ended. "What do we do?" Lena whispered. Maya's grandfather had survived the Japanese occupation during World War II. He'd told her stories about hiding, about resistance, about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. She'd always thought those stories belonged to history, safely distant. She was wrong. "We don't surrender," Maya heard herself say. The words came from somewhere deep, somewhere she didn't know existed. "Whatever happens, we don't kneel to them." David looked at her with something like wonder. "You're serious?" "My grandfather fought for this city once. I won't just hand it over." Outside, sirens wailed. People ran through the streets, screaming, crying. Some stood motionless, staring up at the ships. Maya watched a mother pull her children close, covering their eyes. "I'm with you," David said quietly. "I don't know what we can do, but I'm with you." Lena wiped her tears. "Me too." Others began arriving at the cafe. Maya's neighbors, her regular customers, people seeking shelter or answers. Word spread somehow that Maya's place was staying open, that she wasn't giving up. By nightfall, 30 people crowded into the small space. A retired teacher. A university student. A construction worker. A doctor. Strangers becoming allies. They shared what information they had. The government was debating surrender. Some countries had already given up. Others were preparing to fight. "We need to organize," said Mr. Tan, who owned the bookstore next door. Block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. Maya looked around at these ordinary people, these beautiful, terrified, defiant people. She caught David's eye across the room. He nodded at her, a small gesture of solidarity that made her feel less alone. "Then we organize," Maya said. "We help each other survive. We protect our neighbors. And we show these Kashari what humans are made of." The vote was unanimous. Above them, the alien ships waited in silence. But in Maya's cafe, in 1,000 places like it across the world, humanity began to resist. 3 weeks had passed since the skies went dark. Maya's cafe no longer served coffee. The windows were boarded up, the espresso machine silent. Instead, the space had become a coordination center for their neighborhood resistance cell. Maya stood over a hand-drawn map of their district, marking safe routes and Kashari patrol patterns. David worked beside her, his architect's precision helping them identify structural weaknesses in damaged buildings where people could hide. Their hands brushed as they reached for the same marker. Maya felt electricity run through her fingers, the same sensation she'd felt every day since the invasion began. Fighting for survival had stripped away all pretense, all the careful distance they'd maintained when he was just a customer and she was just the woman who made his coffee. "You should eat something," David said softly, pushing a tin of preserved fruit toward her. "So should you," she smiled despite her exhaustion. "You've lost weight." "We all have," he returned her smile, and for a moment, the warmth in his eyes made her forget the monsters overhead. The moment shattered when Lena burst through the back door, breathing hard. "They're rounding people up. 6th Street. Families with children. They're loading them onto transports." Maya's blood went cold. The Kashari had been taking humans for 3 days now. No one knew where the transports went, but those who were taken never came back. "How many soldiers?" David asked, already moving toward the weapons cache they'd assembled from police stations and military depots. "Maybe 20. But they have those hovering drones." Maya grabbed her jacket. They'd raided a Kashari supply depot last week and captured some of their communication devices. She tucked one into her pocket. "We need to move fast." "Maya, wait," David caught her arm. "This is more dangerous than anything we've tried before." She looked at him, really looked at him. Somewhere between planning supply runs and coordinating safe houses, between midnight strategy sessions and dawn patrols, she'd fallen completely in love with this man. She hadn't meant to. Love seemed impossible when the world was ending. But there it was, burning in her chest alongside the fear and determination. "I know," she said. "But those are our people. We can't leave them." David's expression softened. He touched her face, just briefly, his fingers gentle against her cheek. "Then we go together." They gathered 12 volunteers and moved through the ruined streets. Singapore's once pristine cityscape was now a maze of rubble and smoke. The Kashari had bombed the financial district when the government refused immediate surrender. Thousands had died in minutes. Maya pushed the memories away. She couldn't afford to feel right now. Feeling meant breaking, and she couldn't break. They reached 6th Street and took positions behind collapsed buildings. Maya could see the transport, a massive hovering vehicle with alien markings. Kashari soldiers in their gray armor herded families toward it. Children cried. Parents tried to shield them with their bodies. "On my signal," Maya whispered into the stolen communicator. David was positioned across the street with half their group. She could see him watching her, waiting. She raised her hand. Everything happened at once. Their people opened fire from multiple directions. The Kashari soldiers scattered, confused by the coordinated attack. Maya ran forward, helping families break away from the transport. "Run," she shouted. "Get to the shelters." A Kashari drone spotted her. Its weapons charged with a high-pitched whine. Maya dove behind a overturned car, but she knew she wouldn't make it. Then David was there, tackling her out of the way. The energy blast hit him instead, catching his shoulder and spinning him to the ground. "David," Maya's scream tore from her throat. She dragged him behind cover as their team provided suppressing fire. Blood soaked through his jacket, dark and spreading. His face had gone pale. "I'm okay," he gasped, but he clearly wasn't. "You're not okay, you idiot." Tears streamed down her face as she pressed her hands against the wound. "Why did you do that?" Because I love you. The words came out simple, matter of fact, as if he was commenting on the weather. I've loved you since that first morning when you remembered how I took my coffee. I love you, Maya, and I wasn't going to watch you die. The battle raged around them, but Maya heard nothing except his words echoing in her head. She looked at this man who had been a stranger 4 months ago, who had become her partner, her anchor, her reason to keep fighting. You can't die on me now, she whispered fiercely. Not after saying that. You hear me, David Okonkwo. You don't get to tell me you love me and then leave. Wouldn't dream of it, he managed a weak smile. Their people were winning. The Kashari soldiers retreated, dragging their wounded. The families escaped into the underground shelters. Lena appeared with their medic, a former nurse named Sarah. We need to get him back to base, Sarah said, examining David's wound. Now. They carried him through the ruins as the sun set, casting long shadows across the broken city. Maya held his hand the entire way, her fingers intertwined with his. That night, after Sarah had stitched and bandaged David's shoulder, after the pain medication had made him drowsy, Maya sat beside his makeshift bed in the storage room they'd converted to an infirmary. Hey, he mumbled, reaching for her hand. Hey yourself, she leaned down, pressing her forehead against his. You scared me. Sorry, his thumb traced circles on her palm. Did you hear what I said? Or was I hallucinating? I heard, Maya's voice broke. And I love you too. I've been terrified to say it because everything is so broken and uncertain. But I love you, David. More than I thought possible. He pulled her down and kissed her. It was gentle despite the violence of their world, sweet despite the bitterness of their circumstances. Maya tasted salt from her tears and felt his hand tangled in her hair. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying. We're going to survive this, David said. We're going to win, and then I'm going to take you on a proper date. Dinner, flowers, the whole thing. Maya laughed through her tears. I'm going to hold you to that. Outside, the Kashari ship still darkened the sky. But in that moment, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. 2 months into the occupation, humanity stopped retreating. Across every continent, in every city, the resistance had grown from scattered cells into a coordinated force. The Kashari had expected quick submission. Instead, they faced an enemy that grew stronger with each passing day. Maya stood in what used to be the basement of a government building, now the Central Command for Southeast Asian Operations. Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the radio, transmitted from somewhere in the Pacific. All units, this is it. Operation Breakpoint begins in 6 hours. We hit them everywhere at once. They can't defend all their positions simultaneously. Maya looked at the 50 people gathered around her. Lena was there, no longer the frightened cafe assistant but a skilled communications officer. Mr. Tan had become an expert in explosive devices. Sarah coordinated medical teams across the city. And David stood beside her, his shoulder healed but scarred, his eyes burning with the same determination she felt. Our target is the command center in Marina Bay, Maya said, pointing to the holographic map projected on the wall. It's heavily defended, but intelligence suggests their main communication hub is there. We take it out, and their ships lose coordination. We'll be going in 2 teams, David added. Team 1, with me, creates a diversion at the north entrance. Team 2, with Maya, hits the actual target from underground tunnels. Maya hated this part. They would be separated during the most dangerous operation they'd ever attempted. She caught David's eye and saw the same fear reflected there. After the briefing, as people prepared their equipment, David pulled Maya aside into a quiet corner. I have something for you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring, simple and silver. I made it from debris. Melted down aluminum from a crashed Kashari drone, actually. Maya's breath caught. I know this is terrible timing, David continued, his voice shaking slightly. We're about to go into battle. We might not both make it back. But Maya Chen, I want you to know that if I could choose any life, any timeline, any universe, I would choose this one. Because this one has you in it. Tears blurred her vision. David. You don't have to answer now. Just, come back to me tonight. We'll figure out the rest together. She kissed him, pouring everything into it. All her love, her fear, her hope. When they pulled apart, she slipped the ring onto her finger. Yes, she whispered, my answer is yes. But you're right about one thing. We both have to come back. 6 hours later, Maya led her team through the old subway tunnels beneath Marina Bay. Water dripped from corroded pipes. Rats scattered at their approach. 15 people followed her, carrying weapons, explosives, and determination. Above ground, she heard the sounds of battle beginning. David's team was engaging the Kashari forces. Explosions shook dust from the tunnel ceiling. Stay focused, Maya told her team. We're almost there. They emerged in the basement of the command center. Kashari guards were everywhere, but most had moved toward the main battle outside. Maya's team moved like shadows, taking out sentries silently. The communication hub glowed with alien technology, pulsing with blue light. Their tech expert, a teenager named Marcus, began attaching explosive charges. 5 minutes to detonation, he whispered. Maya's radio crackled. Team 1 is pinned down, Lena's voice came through, tight with stress. Heavy casualties. David's team needs extraction. Maya's heart stopped. Every instinct screamed at her to abandon the mission and run to David. But she looked at the communication hub, at the charges Marcus was setting. If they didn't complete this, thousands more would die. Finish the mission, she told Marcus, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. Lena, redirect extraction team Beta to David's position. I'm going to help them. Maya, no, Lena protested. You need to get out before this place explodes. For minutes is enough time, Maya was already running, taking 3 volunteers with her. They fought their way up through the building. Kashari soldiers seemed endless, but Maya moved through them with focused fury. Every enemy between her and David was just another obstacle to eliminate. She burst through the north entrance to find chaos. David's team was trapped behind overturned vehicles, Kashari drones circling overhead. She could see David, his face covered in blood and dust, still firing despite obvious exhaustion. Covering fire, Maya shouted. Her small team opened up, drawing the drone's attention. It gave David's people the opening they needed to retreat. Maya ran to David, grabbing his arm. Can you move? I can run, he grinned despite the blood on his face. Nice of you to drop by. We have 2 minutes before the building explodes. They ran together, half carrying their wounded, firing behind them as they went. The Kashari forces gave chase, but they were confused, their communications already failing as the hub began to malfunction. Maya counted down in her head. 30 seconds. 20. 10. The explosion lit up the night sky. The entire command center erupted in flames, debris raining down across the district. The shockwave knocked them all to the ground. When Maya's ears stopped ringing, she looked up. Above them, the Kashari ships were going dark. One by one, their lights flickered and died. Without coordination, the massive vessels began drifting, some colliding with each other. Across the city, across the world, the same thing was happening. Humanity's simultaneous attacks had worked. The Kashari fleet was crippled. Maya searched frantically through the smoke and dust. David. Here, his voice came from nearby. I'm here. She found him sitting against a broken wall, holding his ribs but smiling. She dropped beside him, checking him for injuries. I'm okay, he insisted. Bruised, but okay. Did we do it? Did it work? Look up. The Kashari ships were retreating, limping away into the atmosphere. Not all of them, but enough. The occupation was breaking. Around them, people began emerging from shelters. When they saw the ships leaving, the cheering started. It spread across the city like wildfire. People who had been silent for months now screamed their defiance at the darkening sky. Maya and David held each other as the sun rose over Singapore for the first time in 2 months. The city was in ruins. Thousands had died. The scars would last for generations. But they had survived. Humanity had survived. So about that date, David said, his arms around her. I'm thinking we start with rebuilding your cafe. Then maybe dinner by candlelight, since the power grid is destroyed. Maya laughed, the sound strange after so long without joy. That sounds perfect. And then, he touched the ring on her finger. And then we figure out the rest together. We rebuild. We heal. We live. They sat in the ruins of their city and watched the dawn break over a freed world. Around them, people were already organizing, already planning reconstruction. There would be more battles ahead. Some Kashari forces remained. The world was broken and bleeding. But Maya looked at the man she loved, at the ring on her finger, at the people who had fought beside them, and she knew something the Kashari had never understood. Humans were not strong because they never broke. They were strong because even when broken, they put themselves back together. And they were stronger in the broken places. I love you, she told David. I love you too, he kissed her forehead. So what now? Maya smiled, looking out at the city that would need years to rebuild, thinking of the life they would build together. Now we start living again. The end.